Well, all right, Creature Commandos delivers another character study of one of the members of What Else? The Creature Commandos. This time, probably the character I was most taken with. Some of the others have won me over and stuff like that, but Dr. Phosphorus, especially with Alan Tudyk's performance of the character, was one I was really looking forward to. And it stays, as far as memory serves, pretty loyal to the original story, although I think he was a bit more corrupt and benevolent. But here it's a more, there's a sympathetic story. Series of events led him to become the man he is today, or, well, the entity he is today. But on par of these and how it's orchestrated, the Weasel episode remains probably the best episode of the series, with G.I. Robot being the close runner-up on that. Frankenstein was pretty good and kind of shocking in how just what a monstrous a-hole he is, while at the same time being completely unaware of this. But there's a little bit more of him here as well. The bride and fish girl palling around, and they end up in a brothel. There's quite a few activities there. No, not those. But nevertheless, you get more of the story because they've been scattered as they were attacked by the defense forces and the knights and all that sort of stuff, and they've split up. Weasel joins a pack of wolves. He wins them over by teaching them fetch, and the wolf starts wagging its tail and everything. It's great. And so they spend the night out in the pasture. It's fine. But Dr. Phosphorus, we get his story. He was this decent scientist. He was a doctor. He had discovered a potential cure for cancer through nuclear fusion. Yes, that's right. And but he needed the financing through Rupert Thorne. So if you know your Batman lore, you realize Rupert Thorne was one of the big crime bosses in Gotham. Certainly from this was true in the comics, and about this would have been in the 70s, I think, when they introduced 70s Phosphorus and Rupert Thorne and Hugo Strange and all that stuff was going on, and that's how he was introduced. But Rupert Thorne became a regular character for the most part in the animated series of Batman, so I would think quite a few more beyond just the comic book people would recognize him. And yet, I wonder who's going to play him in the movie. Well, I'm guessing nobody because, well. So anyway, never mind that. Dr. Phosphorus, instead of accidentally getting stuck in the contraption that makes him Dr. Phosphorus, like Dr. Manhattan and Watchmen. No, Rupert Thorne throws him in there because they figure, well, he wasn't on the up and up with their money and all this sort of stuff. They frame him for the murder of his wife and child. It's really horrible. So he's just out of his mind, and they throw him into the machine. Because they're going to kill him with that, but they just figure, hey, he's this failed scientist. He lost his mind and he killed the family and whatnot. And they'll steal his tech and figure if there's something they can make off with it or whatever. But anyway, they throw the switch, and oh boy, does that backfire because it gives him superpowers. But now he's this glowing skeleton, So he gets his revenge on Rupert and the gang, So you get a montage of all that. And then he takes over what's left of Rupert's gang, the ones that weren't involved in his family's massacre or his own murder. And he becomes the crime boss of the old Rupert Thorne gang. And all of that is okay. It's got a good flow to it, and how you see how he becomes this new supervillain of Gotham. And then he starts partying. He dresses like a pimp. Okay. And then he starts dancing to the music, and that's just too stupid. I mean, now the reason he's recalling all of this is while on the run in I'm forgetting the fictional country they're in, but nevertheless, he comes upon this house. And there's these portraits of a young family, and it brings him back to what he lost, you know. And there's a little girl there. She meets him. She just thinks he's a magic man or whatever. And there's these sinister tones to it, but ultimately, no, he doesn't hurt the little girl. But while all that, he's recalling, you know, his origin story and how horrible it all was. And then it goes into this dance number. I didn't care for that. But somebody swoops in and saves the day. So as expected, it's virtually impossible to do this story right without the appearance of Batman. So, here he is. Now, before, the Nightmare Vision depicted a Batman. He was hidden by his cape, so you really didn't get a good look at what kind of outfit they would design for their live-action Batman. However, there appeared to be a collar on the cape, so people suspected, was this a nod to Robert Pattinson and all that? Well, time will tell, won't it? But in this one, not so much. It looks pretty much like your typical Batman, but heavily in shadow. So you don't get, I can see there's a bulky bat belt there, and there's a blue tint to the cape. But other than that, that's about it, which is a little more than I expected. I would have thought it would have just been this black silhouette of Batman appearing, and that's it. But basically, Phosphorus is partying it up over all his, you know, conquest of the Thorn Gang and all that. And then all of a sudden the lights go out and he's like, hey, what's going on? And they look up at the ceiling and there's Batman, you know. And so that's how he got captured and ends up in the hands of Amanda Waller and all that. So there you go. So Batman makes his first DCU appearance in Creature Commandos. So, yeah, and that's a good way to handle it. You know, it's like you're acknowledging this thing. And, of course, they would have to. You know, this is supposed to be a part of your shared universe thing. So Batman's in there somewhere. And this is his villain. Dr. Phosphorus is a Batman villain. And so, yeah, they handled that very well. You know, the rest of it, the group comes together after their different encounters. The girls come from the whorehouse. Weasel comes from the pasture and the wolf pack. They're still taking a nap. And they meet up with Dr. Phosphorus, and off they go to the castle where they're all going to meet. Meanwhile, Rick Flag Sr. is still alive, but badly wounded. And Frankenstein managed to kill his way into an airplane and thereby extort the surviving pilots to fly him to the princess and to his bride. Yeah. So there you go. All in all, still a pretty fun show. Really gruesome. Not for children. Not at all. And, but yeah, a few quibbles here, even though Phosphorus is my favorite character out of this, and cool insertion of Batman here. The Weasel episode and G.I. Robot beats it, I think, just overall. But these are minor things in the overall series that I think is a pretty solid and fun show.